button working properly? Is the call button good? Okay. Is the touch screen working properly? Okay. Is the touch sensitivity good? Okay. When I'm pressing the call button, is the call going, or if I'm able to end the call? All these kinds of things. These are the functional requirements. Okay, the basic, as a layman, as a user, what you will see is the functional requirement. Okay. Now, the non-functional requirements are like the performance speed. Okay. The performance speed includes how fast is the sensitivity. Okay. Is the phone hanging up or not? Is it automatically restarting itself or not? These are performance, okay, speed, and all those things. Okay, the performance of the particular product or whatever. Okay. The security, how secure is your phone? Okay, can you lock it with a password? Can you do a retina scan on that? Whatever. So this kind of things, the quality of the call, the quality of the music, the quality of the camera, this all things are non-functional requirements. Okay. Now, the thing is that you don't have to go deep into these non-functional requirements. As a BA, your main target should be just to, write down the functional requirements. You have to mention this non-functional requirements, but you don't have to explain it, rather, what I mean to say. Because when you have to explain it, you have to do it technically. So if you're not a technical guy, you cannot do it. I mean, it's not possible. You just can say, okay, these kinds of things will be taken care of. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you have questions?
No.
Okay, fine. The thing is, now the next thing is the system requirements, right? What exactly is the system requirement? When you're building a particular system, whether it's a medical system, an IT system, whatever system, okay, what exactly are the, in the core of it, what exactly is in the core of it? I mean, you're installing something, you're establishing something, so there has to be something on which you're doing it, okay, the platform rather, okay. Now this is the system requirement, okay. For example, in our IT industry, what we do is that we have a software, okay, we are using this software, we're using that hardware, okay. In your medical professions also these things happen, you're using this hardware, using that test tubes and all those, this kind of thing, the hardware part, okay, not the internal part, the hardware part on which you're experimenting. That's the system requirement. That's the job of system analyst, okay, not a business analyst. I'm telling you the roles actually. Okay, that's the job of a system analyst, okay. Okay. Now, one of the most important parts in a project is the data requirements. Okay, you have lots of data. Whether any kind of domain you go, you have lots of data. You have to take care of lots of data. Okay. Now, when you have to take care of lots of data, you have to ensure that this data remains safe and in a particular way, right? So, what kind of database are you using? Okay. What is the type of it? It's a text database. It's a numeric database. It has numbers. It has text. It has alphanumeric. It has both numbers and text. Okay. How secure is it? Okay. What exactly is the flow of it? I mean, when I suppose I say that the system has crashed, I need the data. Then what do I do? Okay. How do I retrieve the data? Is there any option for that? Okay. You have to mention this in the database requirements. You don't have to do this. I mean, I'm saying the responsibility. Okay. What is the exact space of that particular database? What happens if the space exceeds? Okay. So these kinds of things is the response. These kinds of things are handled by the database analyst. Okay. Now, in a company, there are business analysts, there are system analysts, and there are database analysts. Apart from the programmers and the the technical team, the non-technical team, whatever. Okay. Now what happens is that now as a PA, okay. Now as a PA, what you have to do is that you have to create the use case documentations. Okay. What I would suggest, use case. Use case means the usability documentation rather. Okay. Okay. So the thing is that what you have to do is that I would suggest you to install a software. It's called MS Visio. That's Microsoft Visio. Okay. So that next day I can explain it to you rather. Okay. How to do it. Use case documentation. Use case documentation, as I told you the earlier day, it's a pictorial description of what you write. What you are writing, that's the pictorial description of the same thing. Perfectly. Okay. Now the thing is that wireframes. Okay. Now in a use case documentation, there are various wireframes, various signals. Okay. For example, square means something else. Circle means something else. Okay. Rectangle means something else. So these have different functionalities. For example, square means it's ready to go. It's ready. It's perfectly all right. Circle means something else. So this kind of things you have to learn. when you're doing this, creating these wireframes or use case pictorial descriptive diagrams. Okay. Okay. Now the next thing is flowcharts. Okay. Flowcharts are basically the same thing as use case documentation, but in a flowchart you have to show how the entire system works. Okay. How the entire system works from top to bottom. Okay. If it's a mobile phone, you have to show it how you do the calls. Okay. How you receive it. How you then after you press the call button, what happens? Then if the call button doesn't connect, then what happens? Okay, you have to go to and fro. I mean, if this, then that. If this doesn't happen, you have to do that. Okay, you have, because when you're creating something, you have to go to nitty-gritties of it. I mean, you have to see that if this thing fails, I have to do some backups. If my call button doesn't work, there has to be some other option for the user to make a call, right? And give an example. So if my message is not delivered, I have some other options to deliver it or whatever. If my music player is not playing, I have some other options for it to play or to debug it within the phone. So, okay. So these kinds of things, when you have to have, as a business analyst, what you have to have is total idea of the product, the functionalities, what it does, how it does. Okay. You don't have to go deep in technicalities, but you have to have the functionality ideas. Okay, what it does, what it, everything from top to bottom. Because when you go to the client, you have to explain it. You have to create the manual rather. Okay, the user manual, which is the basic user manual the client would study and get to the product. Okay, you have to get to the total idea of this this project. Okay, now the thing is, what is a user manual? Okay, user manual is nothing. It's simply, I hope you have used gadgets or electronic items. They have a user manual. Okay, user manual is simple. User manual is just a pre-prescription about the product, how to install it, how to use it, in case of any problem, how to rectify it or debug it. Okay, these kinds of things. Okay, so for this you have to have the entire knowledge of the entire product. Okay, because that's what a BA does. BA understands the products and makes other people understand. That's what a role of a BA is exactly. They don't develop the product, they understand the product. Okay, they have to make the development team understand the product. They have to make the client understand the product. They have to make everybody, the user who are using it, understand the product. So that's what exactly a BA does. Okay, now these are the different things. System analyst, what exactly a system analyst does. If they create SF charts, the software flow charts, that it means that you have, this the technicalities, you don't have to know these things. Data flow diagrams. Data flow diagrams are deep within the database. How is the database designed? Okay, how things are working for you. These things you don't have to know. If you're not entitled to, you don't have to know these things. As a business analyst, what you have to know is how to create a use case documentation, how to create a use case diagram, okay, how to create flow charts. Okay, these kinds of things you have to know. I will go in details, don't worry. I will go in details of use case diagrams, wireframes, flow charts, everything. Okay, but I want to go slow because that would help you, brother, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this is all about the requirement types and all those things. What kind of requirement types are there? What is your functionality? Okay. Now, let's go to something which I told you. It's a project. Okay. What is a project? Okay. The project is something which is designed to produce a product or result. Project doesn't have to be a product all the time. It can be any service. It can be any end product, whatever. Okay. So a project is unique in that it is not a routine operation, but a specific set of operation designed to accomplish a singular goal. Okay. For example, okay, let me ask you, what do you mean by a project? I mean, to you, what is a project?
Where 2 or 3 people work together, or more, maybe one. Any number of people can work together to get something done.
Okay, fine. That's good. Now the thing is, there are various aspects in the project. Okay, there is a business aspect to it, there's a financial aspect to it, there's a development aspect to it. Okay, there are very testing aspect to it. So there are various aspects in a project. You cannot single-handedly, nobody can do project. Okay, it's not possible. The there are many ways, many performance, because when you're creating a project, you have to have a backup plan. There has to be a plan A, there has to be a plan B, There has to be everything, because when you're creating a big project, it's not a small household project, it's a big project. So you have to give it everything. You have to create a team. Okay.
Yes.
And you have to work together. You have to work together in the sense you have to complement each other. You, as a business analyst, you have to go to the development team to make them understand what's going on. And when the development team reports you back, you have to tell it to the client that, okay, fine, this is the thing going on. Okay, and at the same time, as a business analyst, you have to keep on testing it. Testing means user acceptance testing, not any other kind of testing. Okay, not the coding testing and all that thing. User acceptance testing. It means that you have to check the product at every milestone. At every milestone, you have to check it, because anything wrong happens, the development team might blame you. They might say, "Oh, you're the business analyst. You're bound to know these things. How come you didn't notice it?" Okay, you're not going to tell them, "Oh, you made a development error." Later on, you have to tell them on a milestone basis. Okay, this is what happens in a good project. Sometimes what happens is that you want a project within 3 days. Then it's not possible. You create a project, you give it to the client. There are errors. Some errors. It's bound to happen. But if a project goes on for say 6 months, 7 months, 10 months, then what happens is that you have to go step by step. You have to go milestone by milestone, module by module. Okay. You have to create the modules. You have to basically report to the client at every point. Report how the project is going. You know, if possible, you have to show them every milestone. If possible, that is possible. You have to invite the client to your office. You have to tell them, oh, come on to office and see the project. This is how things are going. You have to do these things. You have to interact with the client, because something wrong happens, you are the one to be blamed. Okay. After the project manager. Okay. So you are the one to be blamed, because you are totally handling this project, rather, in a simple English. Okay. You're totally handling this project. Okay. And what happens in a big company, an MNC, what happens is that for a particular project, they hire specialists for every job. As a business analyst, this is your job. As a testing team, this is your job. The development, this is your job. So, but in a small company, they might think, okay, you are a business analyst. So what background are you from? So suppose you go to a pharmaceutical company. You say, okay, you're from biotech background. Okay. What you do is that you take care of the the system part, system analysis part also, because you have a domain knowledge, so you take care of that. You get to learn more with these things. I mean, when you go to a small company, basically you get to learn more, because you have to take both responsibilities, business analyst as well as system analyst. So you get both domain knowledge as well as the analyst knowledge. I mean, business analyst knowledge. So these things work this way. Okay. Okay. Now, okay. Now, what is project management? Okay. Project management is application knowledge skill technique to execute project effectively and efficiently. It's simple. It's strategic competency for organization, enabling type projects as business goals. Okay. This is basically you have to understand. Many people confuse project manager and analyst are different people.
You're breaking up.
Many people think that project manager is a business analyst. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's kind of
Hello?
there's a lag in the call, so I can hear you.
Okay, okay, fine. Sorry. So what I was saying that some people confuse that project manager and the business analyst are the same people. Okay. They think that the project manager, what it does, the business analyst does the same thing. Okay, but that's not the truth actually. Okay, what happens, I'm telling you the truth actually, is that sometimes in a company, as a project manager, you can do the job of business analyst. You know what happen? What I'm telling, a business analyst is something, a very new kind of thing. I mean, it has been rather 7, 8 years or 10 years perhaps. Okay, it has been the market very new. I mean, this role didn't exist earlier. Okay, this was the work of a development team or a project management. But later on, people or the companies realized that they need someone specialized for this. Why? Why? Because these things matters a lot. I mean, when you're going to the client, you are doing all those things. As a project manager, you have added responsibilities. Okay, you cannot do both the things. I mean, you cannot come and code and then you go to the client and then you just tell them this thing doesn't go that way. So in the process, many projects got lost and all those things. So then project manager is different and a business analyst is different. Project manager can become a business analyst, but not always. I mean, that's what happens. Okay. Okay. Now, project management basically falls in 5 groups. Okay. Initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, closing. Okay. Initiating is the requirement phase. Okay, the requirement phase where you have to work as a business analyst, requirement, interviewing the client, all those things. Planning phase is creating the documentations where you have some work. Executing, you don't have to work. Okay, while executing, the development team has to work. Monitoring and controlling, of course, that's your job. Okay, you have to monitor the entire project. The project management will always do it, but as a business analyst, that's your main prime responsibility. Okay, what happens is that you can either report to the client directly or your higher officials, or you can report to the project management. The project is going this way, that way. Okay.
Okay.
If you have any questions or whatever you ask. And the closing part is that in the closing part you have to deploy it in the client's whatever. If it's a software, you have to deploy it in the client's office. If it is something else, you have to give it to the client. You create the user manual. That is the closing part. Everything you do with the client. Okay. Now, did you understand what I said?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Now, integration, scope, time, cost, quality, procurement, human resource, communication, risk management. There are many things. Okay, when it comes to a project, it's a vast thing actually. Okay, all management is concerned with this, of course, but project management brings a unique focus shaped by the goals, resources, and schedule of each project. Okay, when you are doing a project, there are many things a project manager as well as a business analyst needs to look at. Okay, for example, the scope of this project. Okay, when you are bringing a project, okay, you have to see the manpower you have, the time you have, the other projects you have. How can you meet the client's requirement? It might happen sometimes that you have a project but you don't have enough manpower, or rather you don't have enough free manpower to work on that project. You give the client a commitment, you come back to your office, and then you realize, no, people are too busy doing other things, I mean other projects. So you cannot, the client says, I want it within 7 days. From where from you will bring those the people who will develop? So either you hire new people, okay, it depends on your project management and the higher official decision. Okay, you all sit down at a place, you discuss these things, and you decide whether to hire new people or to reject the project. Things happen. I mean, it's not always that people accept every project that comes their way. I mean, companies. Okay, they might reject a project. It might happen. Okay. Okay. Now the time and the cost quality. This is a very big factor. Okay, very big factor indeed. Because if the budget the client has provided you, okay, doesn't match your requirements, okay, the client wants the work done within 10 days, okay, and you have to give a manpower of around say 7 people, example, okay, and the client wants within 10 days. So what the company does is that they calculate the costing, the 7 employee costing for 10 days. If they see that, oh, it's exceeding too much, either they ask the client to increase their budget, or they say the client, okay, then we are sorry, we can't do this project. It's okay. So you have to look into these factors. It's not your lone responsibility. The project management team and the higher officials, they will also get into this discussion or interview, whatever you call. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Now, suppose you need to hire people. Okay, suppose you need to hire people. So you can tell the project management about this. See, actually, we have a project. It's a big project. We should go for it. It's a big client, but we are short of manpower. So I think we should hire manpower. Okay. Okay. So as a business analyst, you also have to take interviews. Not the technical interviews, definitely. As a business analyst, you have to take interviews sometimes. Okay. What happens is that the project manager will ask you, along with some developer, to go along with the development team to go and sit in the interview panel. It might happen. I'm just telling you what you have to do. So you might ask questions. You might ask them questions about how exactly they fit in the requirements. That's your prime responsibility as an interviewer. Technicalities or things like that you don't have to get into. You just have to make sure the people you're recruiting, your team is recruiting, is fit enough to fit the requirements. Because suppose you're picking the people for a particular project and they don't fit the requirements. And who knows the requirement better than a business analyst? Okay. Of course, you know the requirement better. So you have to see if that particular people or person you're hiring fits your requirement. Okay. Development as a developer, as a things like that, he might be very strong at that, but maybe he's not fit for this project. He's not fit. So you have to make sure. Okay. Fine. So understood?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. This thing is this is a bit blurry, the picture. I'm sorry. This actually depicts a rather pictorial view of what happens. Okay. How the customer explains, the first picture you can see is how the customer explained it to the business analyst. Okay. How the project leader understood it. Okay. How the analyst designed it. Actually these things happen. Okay. How the programmer wrote it. So you can see how different it is. I mean, the customer wants it this way, the project leader tells it this way, the analyst designed it that way, and the programmer wrote it that way. I mean, so, and how the business consultant described it. So when you are doing a project, you all have to be on the same page. Okay. Because this picture actually is a description of why we need a business analyst. Why exactly? Why people might say why we can need a business analyst. This is why we need a business analyst. Okay, the people might want a Samsung Galaxy phone, and you might give them a low budget phone. Okay, with the same specifications. Okay, but the customer or the client wants Samsung Galaxy, so you have to give him Galaxy. I mean, you cannot go for something lower than that. Okay, so that's what a business analyst is for. Okay. There are lots of people involved in the project, from the customer to the project leader to the the senior analysts, the programmers, the development teams, everybody. So everybody needs to know what exactly the project is about, what exactly the client wants, what exactly the finished product would be. Okay, if you make a mistake, the client would never accept your project. They would never ever accept your project. Okay. And as a result, what will happen is that you have incurred a lot of development cost, you have incurred a lot of other costs as well, and the company will be in loss. Okay. So these kinds of things, this is a picture just to describe that why we need a business analyst. Okay. Because different things might be different people. I mean, they might think it that way, this way. Okay, you cannot just go it. Development team will not be concerned about how the project is, what exactly the project is. They will just do the coding. Okay, they will just do the development work, whatever they are told to. Okay, so you have to explain them very precisely, and what exactly the client wants, the finished product. Okay, everything. Okay. You have any questions regarding this? Any questions?
No, nothing.
Okay. Now the next part is the project development. Okay. This is how the project phases are actually working. That is explained in the later slides. First of all, there has to be a project plan. Okay. Now, can you say me what exactly is a project plan? I mean, you have any idea?
Like writing down on a piece of paper, or how to go about it, like putting it into smaller little projects and on the modules what we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Project plan is basically this thing is preparing for the project, or rather warming up for the project. Okay, project plan is it's a documentation. It's as you know, there are various kinds of documentation, functional, non-functional. Okay, there are various kinds of database documentation, system documentation, many kinds of documentation, planning. But the main thing of a project plan is how to do this project, or like the procedures. I mean, for example, the business analyst, you go to the client on day 1, you bring the requirement on day 2, for example, and you then give it to the development team who will start working it on day 3. This is what a project plan is. They basically set protocols and some guidelines in a timeline, that because you have a timeline, you have to meet a deadline. Okay, you have to, because the client won't say, okay, you take your time, I'm just happy here, you just take your time, take it 2 years, 3 years. No, it's not happening. You have to give it a time, you have to plan it that way. Okay, as a business analyst, this is also your job, that you have to make sure that things fall in place at the right time. Okay, the development team cannot take more than 10 days to develop it. Okay, you have to make sure that. You have to make sure, I mean, it's your responsibility. You have to tell the development team, do one thing, do this module first, do this module later, do that module, because this has more priority, you do it first. So this kind of thing, you have to explain it to the development team. This is what exactly a project. Yeah, your questions?
Yeah. So will I mean, how would I know, like, how much time would the development team need to write the code, or the testing team would need to?
No.
Am I supposed to know that, like, based on projects, or do I give them a deadline and they have to do it?
No. You have to basically create a plan. Okay. You have to give them a deadline. You have to give them some assigned guidelines that you have to do it within 10 days. What I meant to say was that you have to tell them that which work has more priority. Okay. You can explain it to them. Okay. Because the client, when the client will give you the requirements, they will say you, okay, what I want is, suppose I give you an example of a mobile phone. It's simple. So I want the call button first. I don't want what apps you have or whatever you embedded inside. I don't want that. I want the call button first, because that's the primary thing. Okay. That without that, the phone is useless. I mean, what's the use of a phone then? Okay. So what I want is the call button. So you might tell the development team, okay, do one thing, start with the call button first, create it, make it. Okay. Then you will go with that. Basically, you cannot tell. Yeah, go ahead.
I understood that part, that some things come prioritized and you have to prioritize according to what the client needs. I was asking, like, you know, if they have to, you know, make a software inside the phone that is like priority number 6, and I do not know how much time that coding or that testing will take. So how do I tell them that finish it in 5 days or 6 days when I really do not know how much time it will actually take? So am I supposed to know that time, or do I ask them that what would be the fastest?
Yeah, that's a good, absolutely. That's a good question. The thing is that, no, you're not supposed to know the time. Okay, because as you're not in the development team, you're absolutely not supposed to know the time. Okay. What you can tell them is that you can, as I told you, you can tell them the certain guidelines. For example, you have to finish the project within 10 days. Okay, 10 days means 10 days. Now, then you say them, you prioritize your work like this. Now, how much time is required in what task, that's not your responsibility. Okay. If they fail to do it, that's their fault, not your fault. Okay. Because you, as a business analyst, you cannot force the development team to finish it within 1 day if they can't. You cannot do that. No, you cannot say that, oh, finish it, man, I want it. You cannot do that. You just can tell them what to do. You cannot tell them how to do, because that's what business analyst is. You are not supposed to know the timing. How are you supposed to know the timing? If you know the timing, if you know how to code, and then you would be the developer, not the business analyst. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So that's not possible for you. You can tell them. You can assign them jobs. Okay. You can prioritize them, but you cannot tell them what time is required. Okay, because that's their job. They will tell you rather. Okay, for this job, this much time is required. Okay, they will tell you. That's not your job. Okay. Next is the project management. Project management you don't have to concern about, because the project management is the project manager's job. They have to take care of the project simply. Okay, they don't interact with the client so much. They just take care of the project, how the project is going, the development team is going, because a project manager is someone who has already been in the development team for some years. Okay, who has already some experience in the development team. Suppose he has 7 to 8 years experience. Now he doesn't code that much, he doesn't work that much in the development process. What he does that he guides the process. Okay. For example, what you asked the previous question, suppose you don't know about the timing. Okay, you tell them and the development team is out of bounds. I mean, they don't know what to do. Okay, then comes the project manager. He tells them, okay, you do one thing, you do it that way. Then it will take some less time. Okay, if the business analyst is telling you to finish it within 2 days, you do one thing, you do it in that process. That might take some less time. So that where the project manager comes. Okay. You can only report to the project manager that, okay, you do one thing, actually this thing needs to be finished in 2 days according to the client. So how do I do it? I mean, the development team is saying that it will take 5 days, but I have committed to the client that it will take 2 days. So what's the process? Then the project manager goes in and explains the development team how to do it. Okay. They might have to compromise on quality sometimes, because when you do a work of 5 days within 2 days, they have to compromise on quality, because that's your choice. Okay.
Normal,
yeah. Okay. Now the process comes of business analyst. As you know what a business analyst is, I've explained a lot about what exactly they do. So I'm not explaining this part. Now the next is the designing team. Okay, designing is not your job as well. Okay, designing is the job of a designer or somebody who is involved in designing. Okay, some hired exclusively for designing. Okay, the development team will not give you the finished product. They'll give you a product, and the work of arranging it and organizing it is your job. They will give you a phone, but you have to assemble it. Okay, you have to put in the battery, you have to, do all other things, put in the camera and all those things. They will make you the camera, but they will not assemble it. Okay, designing is simply putting the things the development team has given you all together at one place to get a finished product. Okay. That's the job of for designer. Okay. Now, how exactly does the finished product look like? You might ask this question. How do I know that? Okay. You have to create that in that use case diagrams. Okay. You have to create that. As I told you, I will explain this later on, the use case diagrams and all. You have to create a pictorial view of the finished product in your use case diagram, which the designing team will follow. Okay. That the thing
which has
will look like,
which has to be authorized by the client as well, so that
of course. Everything you do, everything, absolutely. Every documentation you write, every diagrams you create, which has to be authorized by the client. Because if that doesn't happen, the client, after all the hard work, the client might say, oh, I didn't want it that way, but you've made a mess. Okay. So it's wiser. Many business analysts do this mistake. They don't consult the client on certain things. They think that, oh, I'm smart enough for this. I know what this looks like. Okay, let's not disturb the client with this. But it's a wise move to go to the client every time and show them. If not going, you can email them or whatever client communication mode you have. You just report them that this is what you want, right? You have to confirm with them. This is a very good habit of business analyst, that you have to confirm with them at each level. Because if you don't do that, the client at any point might tell you that, oh, I didn't want it that way, man. You made a mess. I made a mistake. And then all the responsibilities, all the blames will fall upon you. I mean, what did you do? Okay. So that's it. So now the next is the implementation. Implementation is nothing but testing it first of all. The testing team will be involved in it. You have to be involved as a user acceptance testing. Suppose you have to consider yourself the client and you have to test the product. Okay. You have to test the product and you have to report any kind of bug you find. Okay. The final product. Okay. You have to report any kind of bugs or mistakes or any errors you have, and you have to prepare a test case. As I told you the first day, perhaps you have to prepare a test case, and you have to give it to the development team again that, okay, fine, this is the finished product, but you have to make this few changes. Okay, what I find, because when I'm operating this system as a finished product, I'm finding this certain errors. So you have to fix these errors, then I have to go to the client, and then the final stage is deployment. After the development team finished fixing the errors, you check it once again, the user acceptance testing, and after the user acceptance testing, what you do is that you deploy it. I mean, deployments in the sense you have to deliver the client. You have to go to the client as a business analyst. You have to go to the client and you have to explain the product. Oh, you have to say, okay, this is that, this is this. Okay, and finally the product has been delivered. This is what exactly the entire process looks like. Okay, so you have any questions regarding this?
No.
Oh, okay. Now, project types. Okay, as you know that business analyst depends. There are various domains to it. Okay, software domains, development projects, infrastructure projects, non-IT projects like yours, medical. All these kind of projects. Okay. So there are various project types to it. Okay, and it doesn't mean that as a business analyst when you go, you always have to be hired by the domain knowledge you have. Okay, sometimes it might happen that it might be hired by a software company. It might happen. Okay, so these things are bound to happen. These things can happen. Okay, because the role is the same, the procedures are the same. What differs is exactly is the domain knowledge. Okay, so example, if you have domain knowledge of the medical terms, then you might be more comfortable working in a medical environment. I mean, environment where they build medical products, equipments, or whatever. Okay, But the roles, the procedures, all these things are same. I mean, whatever you, even if you go to a IT domain, non-IT domain, if you go to a civil, mechanical, wherever you go, the procedures are the same. Okay, the procedures are the same, but where does the domain knowledge help? When you take the requirements. Okay, when you take the requirements, it helps you understand it better if you are from that particular domain. Okay, so that is what happens. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Suppose asking this question last bit. Okay, what happens is that your company, okay, your company might sometimes say to travel. Okay, you might say that, okay, what you have to do is that we cannot do the development on our part. What you have to do is the development needs to be done on the client side. Okay, you have seen people going on site. What does exactly that mean? I mean, people go on site for two reasons. Firstly, to give support to a product that already has been built. Okay, you have already delivered a product which has been built, but they are incurring some kind of difficulties. So they ask a developer to go out there and work on it. Okay, for 6 months, 1 year, whatever, that depends. Okay, but what sometimes can happen is, as a business analyst, the client might ask you to visit their site, means office. It can be within your offshore or on site, whatever. It can be that. Okay, you might have to travel, because you have to get used to these things. Being a business analyst, you have to travel. Okay? You cannot say no to traveling, okay, to some other countries or whatever. Okay, that's good enough. The thing is, then you have to go to the clients. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So when you were saying that the developer or anyone has to go and, like if the development team goes to the company and makes the product there, sometimes they want that, right? In what circumstances would they want that? I mean, I understand the part where you said that if you incur a problem, then they call the development team to fix it. But why would they want to make it at their site? Is it because they want to make something sensitive or something on their computer specifically or something like that? Or why would they want it at their site?
I get your question. It depends. Okay, it depends on the project. Okay, for example, they might want something, okay, which requires use of some specific hardware or software or whatever. That is not within your company. Okay. That is not present in your company. They might say that we don't have a development team. What you do is that you give us the development team. Okay. You give us the development team, and then there, as a business analyst, your job is to understand the client's requirement, whether by visiting the client. Okay, what's your job here? Is that you have to visit the client, you have to understand its requirements, you have to come back to your office, and then you have to take interviews within your office. Okay, you have to take interviews within your office to the people, because you cannot send 10, 15 people on site. You cannot do that. It will incur a lot of cost. Okay, you cannot do that. You have to send around 4 to 5 people. You go out there and do the job. Actually, what happens is that when you go to the client side, doesn't mean that people back at the back end at your office are not working. Okay, they are also working in the back end. The testing team remains here. Okay, the development team goes there. What they does is that they upload their work, they give them the access, and they test it right here and report it back. Okay, because it's not possible to send the entire team there. It's not possible. Okay, they send some of the people. And which people? That's your responsibility. Your responsibility, the project management's responsibility. Okay, which kind of people shall go there? Which people? Which out of the 100 people? I mean, just 3 or 4 will go. So that's a huge headache. That which kind of people will go? Because if you send the wrong people there, the client might say, "Oh, you have sent the wrong people. Then this project can block this way." Okay. So every aspect is important. Every aspect, because people tend to neglect certain aspects in the interviewing. That's the easy job or whatever. Pick some people, all are eligible. No, it's not that. Some might be good at something, some might be good at other thing. So you have to pick the right person, right fit, okay, for this particular project. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, okay. Fine. Okay. This is what I explained earlier. The project plan, the project manager is involved in it mainly. Okay, how things will work. Okay, requirement gathering is your job. Okay, system analyst specification is the job of a system analyst, but can be your job if you are, from that particular domain. Okay, they might ask you. They might ask you. I'm telling you, because when you're going to the interview, actually, when you're going to a business analyst interview, wherever you go, if you have that domain knowledge, okay, as I said, if you're going to a pharmaceutical company and you're from biotechnology or whatever, so you have the domain knowledge. They might ask you, okay, you are a business analyst, right? So you also know have the domain knowledge, right? So you can work as a system analyst as well. And you might say, okay, yes, not a problem.
Yeah.
And fine, I can work as a system analyst. That's not a problem. So your job will be both business and system analyst. In that way, your salary will also increase. That's not a problem. But these things happen. Okay, these things happen. They might take somebody who's very specialized. Some company are very specific. I mean, they will say that, okay, you are a business analyst. Okay, they will not ask you a single question about system analysis. They will not ask you because they believe that if you are good at something, you have to be good at a certain thing. You have to do.
Hello? 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 Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?